Welcome to Uncommon Knowledge. I'm Peter Robinson. Daniel Pipes is the director of the Middle East Forum, a Philadelphia-based think tank. Currently the Taube Diller Distinguished Fellow at the Hoover Institution. He earned a doctorate in early Islamic history from Harvard University in 1978. The author of 12 books, Dr. Pipes also writes a weekly column for the Jerusalem Post. A religion of peace. Two quotations, Daniel. The first from President Bush on September 17, 2001, quote, "The face of terror is not the true face of Islam. That's not what Islam is all about. Islam is peace," close quote. The second, Robert Spencer, in his book, The Truth About Muhammad, quote, "Stop insisting that Islam is a religion of peace. This is false, and falsehoods are never productive," close quote. In its nature, at the core of Islam, are we talking about a religion of peace?
A religion of peace, if Islam prevails, then there'll be peace. But for Islam to prevail has required and will require a lot of war. Now, I think it's not a good idea to try and define a religion of more than 1 billion people and nearly 1.5 millennium in a word. There's been a lot of warfare in Islam. There is warfare, there will be warfare. Islam is not peace. And by the way, while Robert Spencer repeats that point, President Bush has not. He was ridiculed for it, and he has avoided that kind of expression.
Yes, I did have to reach back all the way to 2001 to find it. All right. So let me give you another quotation. Raymond Ibrahim in National Review Online last May. Quote, this is a longish one, but I want to set it up and have you comment. Quote, "The ideology of radical Islam is grounded in a religion and a God, replete with eternal damnations and rewards, and thus not easily discredited. None of the Al-Qaeda radicals initiated the many commands that create strife between Muslims and non-Muslims. They only upheld them. Immutable verses from the Quran, as well as countless statements from and examples by Muhammad, are the ultimate source of this animosity." Close quote. Here's the question. You've said that radical Islam is the problem and moderate Islam is the solution. For a moment, set aside the political distinction between radical and moderate. Between the two, radical and moderate, who has the better theological argument?
I can't quite answer that, but I can give you...
You're allowed to adjust the question as necessary.
I'd present to you 3 forms of Islam,
all right,
broadly speaking. Traditional Islam, which was a compromise between the dictates of the religion and the practicalities of daily life. For example, the religion demands no interest on money. Commerce requires interest on money. Traditional Islam found a way to fulfill the letter of the law while in fact having interest on money. And then there's radical Islam, which is a 20th century phenomenon, with earlier roots to be sure, but a 20th century phenomenon that is a transformation of Islam, the religion, into Islamism or radical Islam or totalitarian Islam, the ideology, an ideology comparable to fascism and communism. It takes certain aspects of the religion and takes them to the extreme. And then there is moderate Islam, which by and large is a hypothesis. It doesn't really exist yet. It exists in the minds of a few people. It exists in the practical applications of many people. But as a movement comparable to radical Islam, it doesn't yet exist. I believe it can exist. I think our policies should be devoted to making, to helping it come into existence. But at this point, it's barely there. So I would rather not say which is more in keeping with the Quran, because I'm not a Muslim in the first place. I'm not a theologian. It's not up to me to say that. But I can say with some certainty that the Quran can be read many different ways. Or to quote an Egyptian philosopher, the Quran is like a supermarket. You can take from it what you will.
All right, so you see the anxiety that I'm getting at. The notion that Islam arises in roughly 700, and by roughly 3 centuries later, it's swept across northern Africa. It's gotten as far as Paris, pushed back to Spain. So the anxiety is that there is something inherently aggressive and expansionary about this religion/political construct/culture, and that whenever the West is weak, Islam becomes aggressive.
Fair enough.
That is fair enough.
Fair enough.
As a historical point, that is fair enough.
Fair enough that Islam has within it an aggressive quality. Jihad is the conquest is the drive to conquer lands to bring under Muslim control. That's there. Now, jihad is there historically. What bin Laden or Khomeini have done with jihad is to turn into something yet more aggressive. A traditional Muslim would not have understood or expected 9/11. That wasn't within the definition of jihad. You didn't go to the enemy, to the not even enemy, to the non-Muslims' capitals and attack them like that.
This is the Vorthos Forum, and we approve this message.